Good morning. Welcome to the Foster Swift Sports Talk podcast. I'm your host, Dave Russell. I'm here with my two co-hosts, Charlie Sarche and Tony Delamonte. Today we're joined by Jeff Corrion from the D-Zone. Welcome, Jeff.
Hey, thanks for having me on again. Had a great time last time. Looking forward to doing it again today.
Yeah, welcome back.
Yeah, absolutely. We wanted to have you back and kind of get an update where we are with the Michigan high school football season. It's been exciting so far, and to kind of walk through that and get your thoughts so far.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a great year so far. A lot of upsets, a lot of teams really breaking through. Harper Woods has had a major win this week for Saline. You know, Harper Woods is a Division IV team playing up first teams like Saline, Clarkston from week 1 and week 2 and week 7. So it's a really good year so far. Our player of the year race is heating up. A lot of standouts this year, a lot of new players we've met. We were in Kalamazoo last week to meet about 30 players that we've never seen before. So having a great time so far this year.
How many games have you been to so far this year?
That's what I was going to ask, too.
let me add that up for you real fast. Normally I got this number pretty fast, but I can do it real easily.
I think you said 60-plus was the goal.
Yeah, that's what it was. So it's weird. This year there's not too many Thursday games, so I'm right around 16, I think it is, this year so far through 7 weeks.
It's pretty good.
So
okay.
It's crazy, though. This is my first week 8 coming up, that I'm doing 3 games during the week. Normally, in years past, it's been 3. This is the first time I've had the chance this year. So I'm seeing Divine Child play Renaissance tonight, Caston King tomorrow, as well as Pershing and Denby at Ford Field. And then I'll probably see 2 games on Saturday as well, including the Flint Metro League Championship between Goodrich and Fenton.
Nice. Jeff, are you staying mostly on the east side, or are you getting around the state for other games?
It's been mostly east side. There's so much talent out here. Last week at Kalamazoo for Portage Central and Northern was my first time getting over an hour plus away from home. So it's been nice kind of being close to home, having so many good games, being back to see what all is going on, posting our content earlier in the night than when I'm away, and have longer drives coming home, being in hotels and stuff makes it pretty difficult, but hopefully get home pretty quickly this week from Caston King, and
yeah.
It's unlikely, but we'll see how it goes.
I love watching your clips. I think on the Portage game, was that the one where the running back hurdled the guy? It's just so great that you put those out there, because I probably wouldn't see those highlights otherwise. And I feel like there's been a bunch of insane games this year with the Hail Mary with Hudsonville. Does it feel like there's more crazy endings this year, or is it sort of run of the mill for you?
I'd say it's definitely more than what it is, because we have 2 guys out in West Michigan who've been filming, Andrew and Cameron. So Andrew's been fortunate enough to get those Hudsonville clips. So, that play versus Rockford, the one-handed catch, made the #1 play on ESPN Top 10 that Saturday morning. Mm-hmm. The Hail Mary last week was crazy, that they would do some, insane like that back-to-back weeks. I can't remember a year where there's been like specifically a team have 2, best plays in the state type of performances. So it's definitely a little higher, but I'm not shocked with all the talent we have this year in Michigan. It's just, kind of fun to see it. And fortunately for us, we've been at the right time and the right games at the right time, it seems like.
Yeah, the level of play this year is off the charts. What has been the biggest surprise to you this season?
I think Harper Woods beating Division I teams as a D4 team is the craziest thing I've seen in a long time. I know Harper Woods has the talent to compete with them, obviously. You see it, but for them to actually go out there and do it has been very impressive. I saw them beat Clarkston week 1. We had Stowe at their game this week versus Saline. So it's been impressive to see how they're able to execute so well versus higher enrolled schools with 3 to 4 times more enrollment than them. That's been one of the biggest storylines. And then, I thought we all thought going into the season that the Catholic League Central would be, hands and shoulders better than every other conference and division in the state. But it's turned out to be a one one-team race between Catholic Central and everyone else, and that it seems the OK Red has become the better conference this year in terms of competitiveness and what those teams are able to do in the playoffs. I think Hudsonville, East Kentwood, Rockford, Granville, if Jaden Terry was healthy, would be, able to make a run in Division I this year. So we'll see how that all plays out. It looks like Hudsonville is going to clinch the conference, but as you've seen with those clips, it hasn't been easy by any stretch of the means. So those two storylines to me have been kind of the standouts right off the top of my head.
Grand Haven just beat Granville, right, Jeff? Am I have that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
That's a big one.
Grand Haven is really good. I think they could compete with a lot of Division I teams and any school for that matter in the state. They just, got stuck behind EK, Hudsonville, Rockford. They just aren't there yet as a program. The coach, Andrew Biedenmeyer, is doing a great job there, but they still got a ways to go till they're able to win those games.
I was going to say, in terms of your rankings, I know we've got a bunch of 7-0 teams still at the top of Division I. Can you kind of run through what we're looking at for this last stretch here before playoffs?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me just pull it up for you. I know we got Cass Tech at 1. They haven't lost since sometime in the middle of last season. So until someone beats off the top dog, they are the top dog. They play King tomorrow night. That should be an exciting game. They held on to win after it got postponed from the crowd unrest week 3 or 4, I think that was.
Were you there?
So they held on. No, I wasn't. We had Carl Bow there. I forgot where I was that week, but I was pretty in tune with what was going on and stuff. We unfortunately covered that whole debacle. Sure. So, it's happy. I think everyone's just happy to move on and, be where we're at right now. That Ford Field should be a great environment for the PSL tomorrow night.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. So, rounding out the top 5, Catholic Central, Hudsonville, Harper Woods, and Davison. Number 6 is Grand Blanc. So 5 and 6 play this week, Davison and Grand Blanc. I'm pretty sure that's at Grand Blanc. That was such a tough decision not to go to that game, but I'm pretty much penning it in that I'll be there when they play in hopefully the district final, because Jake Morrow and Jackson Dosh, the quarterbacks on both those teams, Morrow on GB and Dosh on Davison, are phenomenal players. Both are top 10 in our Player of the Year rankings, and that's going to be an insane environment this week. And then rounding out the top 10 from number 7, Saline, King, Rockford, and St. Mary's. We got a lot of heat for dropping St. Mary's, but I feel like if you're down by 4 touchdowns to a team, you're in a top 5 team in the state. So that was kind of one of the reasons we dropped them.
You're about to get more hate.
Jeff, besides St. Mary's, I don't have your top 10 pulled up for when you were on the show at the beginning of the season, but are those teams more or less the same as that original top 10, or what have been some other major shakeups?
Yeah, I mean, St. Mary's, we had them at, I think it was 2 or 3 in the preseason. So it was, that loss to Catholic Central set them back a little bit. But, to us, they're still the number 1 team in Division II. I saw Portage Central, who's my number 2 team in D2. And I just think that St. Mary's is slightly better, slightly able to do more things, running, passing the ball, that I think they would beat Portage Central possibly if they played them in the state final, which I hope is the state final, because that would be a heck of a game. But overall, there hasn't been too much turnover. I think Harper Woods was on the outside looking in, the top 10 week in the preseason. It was just, I didn't think a D4 team would be able to pull off the wins that they were able to do. Hudsonville's been up there. Davison's been up there. Grand Blanc's moved up a little. I knew they'd be really good with Morrow, and their receiver, Kasten Sendry's committed to Ferris State, and they got like 1,000 kids on the roster, so they're really good. King was right where, I think right around the spot I had them, maybe a little higher, but they had a couple of tough losses to Cass. They lost to Hoban, Ohio by a field goal in week 2, so they're right there. And then Belleville was one I know I had in the preseason. I dropped them. They just, it's going to be tough for them, I think, this year. it's been tough for them with only 2 returning players from last year's, team that had Bryce Underwood and all his classmates in the class of 2025. So, they're piecing it together. We got them still in the top 25, but we'll see how they do, I guess, next week. I think because the winner of Howell and Brighton tomorrow night plays Belleville for the KLAA championship, which is week 9. I just don't know if it's Friday or Saturday yet, but overall, I think the OK Red too. All those teams I mentioned, EK, Hudsonville, Rockford, some of those I didn't have, this high, the top 10, top 15. Granville would be in there too if Jaden Terry was healthy. So, that's kind of been one of the shakeups as well, has been the OK Red and just how well they've all played this year.
So listening to you, it sounds like they needed to tap you in for the College Football Playoff Committee where, you're not only looking at wins, but if you've got a tight call between teams, you're looking at the eye test, you're looking at offense and defense. When you sit down and you're like, should I put, this team at 8 or 9 or 7? What are some of those factors that you go through?
Surprisingly, there's been a lot of head-to-head for these. I know not all of them, obviously, but it's pretty much looking at who the team has, how balanced you think they are on offense, the win games where they need the pass, if they need the pass type of thing. Like, kind of, that's one of my question marks with Portage Central is they only threw the ball like 3 or 4 times. And, they're going to have to do that more versus a team like St. Mary, I think, especially even if you are winning, you still got to mix in the pass a little more than 3 to 4 times a game, I think. So, that's one of the biggest questions I know people had for me was, would I put Portage Central over St. Mary's last week? And I did not. So I still got St. Mary's 1. But overall, I think with like these other teams, especially D1, I'm looking, do these teams have a legitimate chance to beat teams like Catholic Central? Is Catholic Central better than Cass? As of now, I don't think they are. So, that's kind of what it boils down to. And then do teams have, just total game changers? So for Cass, it's CJ Sadler, their quarterback, Donald Taberon, CC, it's Samson Gash, Hudsonville, the quarterback, Brady Van Lake. I know he was on the show. So, he was a receiver last year, comes in at quarterback and just is taking the state by storm almost with just the plays he's making, buying time in the pocket, getting passes off. And, that's those type of plays win you games. Those type of plays, add up throughout the season and just build a team's confidence heading into the playoffs. So
and they get you on Sports Center too.
Yeah, really. I mean, without Van Lake, dodging a couple defenders on that play, that pass is, maybe just gets thrown into the sideline, thrown 5 yards short, whatever it is. But no, he bought time and got that play off and made a hell of a throw.
So what's your predictions for state champions?
I always go off of what my ranking is. So I got Cass versus Hudsonville in the D1 final again. I think Cass will beat CC in the semifinal as of now. And then I just don't see how, it's almost like a repeat of Hudsonville and Cass play again. I think Hudsonville will put up a better fight this year, but I still think Cass is the better. And then St. Mary's and Portage Central, I hope, is the D1 final, or D2, sorry, the D2 final. That'll be a heck of a game. Both are very physical teams, but St. Mary's versatility, I think, in the end will be too much of a challenge for Portage Central. Division 3 is kind of the weaker link right now, but I think we go back a couple years and we get a King and DeWitt rematch. That should be a phenomenal game, and I got King slightly favored in that one. And then Division 4 will be very interesting with Harper Woods, Divine Child. I think Unity Christian on the Goodrich, of course, they're the defending champs. So whenever those 3 teams play, they're going to be at some point either districts, regional, or semifinal on the east side of Division 4. Those are going to be whatever matchup. However that falls into place is going to be a bunch of really good matchups because, Goodrich is the defending champs. They beat Harper Woods last year. Divine Child, I'm going to see them tonight. They look really good. I know they lost last week, but, they're going to be really good still. And then obviously I've been fluffing up Harper Woods, the host shows so far. They're going to be tough to beat. So, and then on the other side, I think it's going to be Unity Christian who gets by on that side of the bracket to play probably Harper Woods, and same as it was kind of a couple years ago. It's going to be a back and forth game with how Harper Woods played South Christian when they won the final, but I think Harper Woods is going to be too tough to stop this year.
So in terms of, we talked about your player or your team rankings, but wanted to talk a little bit about your player rankings. Any surprises there from guys that you were looking at before going into the season? I think we've had a lot of the player of the weeks on your top 10 rankings, but what are you looking at there?
Yeah, so to answer your first question, though, the one player who's really kind of made his mark on this whole thing is Brady Van Lake from Hudsonville. I don't think no one had him, anywhere sniffing a top 10, top 20 type of player list in the whole state coming into the preseason. But, after last week, I started thinking, okay, like we're about to put him in type of thing, and here we are. We got him at number 6 on our rankings with obviously room to move up. So he's been the biggest standout in terms of just coming out of nowhere to make a mark on this whole player of the year ranking thing. And this is the first week we've come out with only 3 times the player of the year rankings. This is the first one that Dakota Garant has jumped CJ Sadler, which is not that shocking considering what Harper Woods has been able to do this year, what Dakota Garant's been able to do. He was mine and your guys' player of the week in week 2 when they beat Clarkston from, defensive plays, receiving touchdowns, rushing touchdowns, kicking the ball, returning the ball. He had a 98-yard kickoff return this week for Saline. So, him and CJ Sadler at 1 and 2's I think anyone with a brain has those two at 1 and 2. Just you can flip them either way how you want. Like if CJ Sadler has a tremendous game, which I expect him to, First King, we very easily could put him back at number 1, and that wouldn't be shocking to anyone, I don't think. So, those 2 players right now, to me, are the front runners. We got Samson Gash right behind them, but he hasn't had to do too much. So if they're in a close game, I could easily see Samson Gash go for like 12 catches, 200-plus yards, 4 or 5 touchdowns type of game. He just hasn't had to do it. Catholic Central has destroyed everyone they've played this year pretty much.
Yeah, and we mentioned the player of the week, and we really enjoyed being part of that. And I kind of wanted to walk through that list with you, who we've had each week, and get your thoughts on those games and those players. Our first week, we had absolutely. Eric McFarland out of Wall Lake Central had a huge game and really good-looking player.
Yeah, that's what was it, 19 or 29 catches again?
It was crazy. Yeah.
Whatever, that was insane. I saw that stat come across me that next morning. Texted the offensive coordinator at Walled Lake Central, "Hey, this is legit, or are you guys fluffing up these stats?" He said, "No, he went off. Our quarterback went off too." So Eric McFarland, got us rolling with that, and kind of showed people like we ain't just going for the top player, like Division I player with this player of the week thing. We're going for the best productive player in the state, and he got us going off good this year.
Yeah, in the second week, we had Dakota Garant from Harper Woods, which we've talked a lot about. And one thing I wanted to mention, I'm not sure if it was your interview or someone else from the D Zone, and I don't know if you guys caught this or not, but he got interviewed after the game. And I think I might get this wrong, but the quote was something about the other bums in D4. No lack of confidence there.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that was us. We don't kind of clickbait like that, but there was some too. I know these like Instagram accounts. There was like a Instagram hype account. They went up to the Clarkston student section and got him to say that Dakota Garant was overrated. So,
oh my God, oh boy,
that really bit them in the ass.
Yeah, I don't think he's overrated. I think he's the real deal.
Yeah, for sure.
No, he's 5-star, number 1 receiver in the country for a reason, with room to become, a top national player in terms of top 10, top 5, whatever it is, best player in the country for all I'm concerned in 2027.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then the following week, we had Luke Creighton out of Salem was the player of the week.
Yep. Big win, for Salem. Let me look at some real fast now that this is a couple weeks later, but, they're having one of their greatest years in school history. And I expect them to beat Plymouth, which I think is to beat Plymouth tomorrow, which I think will be the first time that Salem will be able to beat Canton and Plymouth, which they share the same school facility, the PCEP, I think it is, the Plymouth Educational Campus.
Yep.
So, that's the first time that Salem's going to beat Canton and Plymouth, I think, in school history tomorrow night. And, that game catapulted Salem, I think, to a great year this year. 3-3 for them is really good. And Creighton, he had that big game, and he's been able to have some good stats, I know, since. So, he's a really good quarterback who had a great, week that's gotten Salem a lot of confidence this year.
Yeah, the next week we had Tommy Carr out of Saline.
Yeah, that was crazy. I've seen the games like that, but, they don't always happen versus, good opponents. So, them versus Dexter was a game I considered going to. I had someone there to take pictures and such. So, them and Dexter was pretty much the SEC Red championship game. It's been the last 3 or 4 years. And, obviously Saline came out on top of that, and Tommy Carr, I'm not hardly shocked he had a game like that. Just, you wait for these quarterbacks to have those type of games. They often don't need to do them because they win comfortably a lot of times. But when they do, you just are impressed.
For sure.
That was good. Was it 9 total touchdowns or 10 total touchdowns
it was
that week?
Crazy like that, yeah. And then I think we had Trav Moore next, we had Trav Moore on, great kid, and it was funny. Dave and I were talking. We were looking at the rushing rankings in the state of Michigan.
Well, no, I think it was in the area, not the state of Michigan.
Oh yeah, it was in the area. He was, obviously he's a quarterback, but he was like top 5 on the rushing rankings or whatever it was. But yeah, really impressive.
Yeah, he's got to be up there. I imagine too for the state. Obviously, I know some running backs have better stats and stuff, but he's up there for sure. Definitely in terms of rushing touchdowns. He's a phenomenal athlete. I know Central Michigan's going to have a fun time plugging him in. I think at running back. So that's what he played before he moved to QB, I believe. So he's a very good player, and set his own school record is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I think he's going to get on the field quickly at Central.
I think so too.
It definitely seems like it, yeah.
Yeah, and so the next week we had Brady Van Lake, which we've talked about a lot, and we had, like you said, we had him on to talk, and we had a lot of fun with that. And he's been a highlight reel all to himself. And in watching his tape, I'm surprised he doesn't have more offers at this point. He seems like a real talent.
Yeah, it's unfortunately the thing. I think he's 5'9", 5'10" for his height, maybe 5'11". I forgot what it was. I know I met him last year, but I got sick around that time, so my memory's kind of blanked out a little bit from it. But, he's the type of player, he started at receiver last year, and that's where he's going to most likely play in college as receiver. I just don't get why colleges don't take more chances on a player like that who, shows elite football IQ, elite football, elusiveness. He's got to run pretty good, for the type of mobility he has. So, it's one of those things where he'll probably go to Ferris, become a national championship, go to the transfer portal,
right.
go D1. Mm-hmm. It's just colleges don't want to, be the first to offer a kid type of thing. And I think that's kind of the challenge that he's facing right now. I know I'm pretty positive his only offer right now is from Ferris State, which happened the week after that. The week he threw that Hail Mary between last week's games, he got that offer from Ferris State. So, that's just crazy to me. But Tony Anise knows what he's doing. Tony Anise is going to get top talent. And, yeah, that's his only offer is Ferris State. So,
yeah, I predict he's going to be very successful in the next level. I mean, you see a guy like that, he's He's got it all.
He's a football player.
I mean, he's competitive.
Yeah.
He's a great athlete. He's got that. He's going to find a way to win. He's that guy.
Yeah.
Jeff.
His teammate, Ryan Ackman, I think it is, the linebacker number 0. Yeah, Ryan Ackman. He's committed to Ferris. So it's just, unfortunately for him, I think it's just a matter of time before he has to commit to Ferris State and, kind of see how it all plays out once he gets on the field there and stuff. So, for him, he's going to do well in college. So it's just a matter of how it's all going to fall into place with how he does at Ferris, how, if someone comes in before he commits to Ferris type of thing. So we'll see how that plays out. But
right, because he's at 2026, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
Unfortunately for him, he didn't really get out too much. I don't know if he played in another sport or something, but, unfortunately, a lot of people didn't really know who he was till he started making a lot of plays this year.
Yeah.
Despite being a key piece to Hudsonville's run last year in D1, because they were the semifinalists, or the state finalists.
Right. Yeah, Jeff, and then we have Sam Stowe from Notre Dame Prep, who we're going to hear from in a few minutes here. We're excited to talk to him for sure. Have you heard of any other commits recently? Tony and I were joking about how much weight that word commit really carries nowadays, but have you heard of any in recent weeks?
Just in general, some recent commits?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me pull them up real fast. I know there was a couple. No one really gone to D1 too much. I know there was a preferred walk-on 2 days ago from Three Rivers. Xander Barth, his name is. He plays tight end DN for Three Rivers, who had a great start to the year, but they've kind of slowed down a little bit. But he's a preferred walk-on that's going to Central Michigan. They're bringing him at tight end. They might move him over to O-line. They've done a great job at Central. I know it's different coaches and such, but moving kids from offensive tackle from tight end to offensive tackle, Central's done very well. Obviously, Eric Fisher's the highlight of that, going the number 1 pick. But besides him, I saw one this week, Charlie Gillick from Portage Central flipped his commitment from Central Florida to Minnesota. Great player. Obviously I just saw Portage last week, and the reason he did it was Minnesota offered him the chance to play on defense, which he prefers. So, he's going to go to Minnesota. Great player, Big Ten linebacker prototype. So heck of a player. Wish him well at Minnesota. I think he's going to have a great career in college. So he was a big one.
Kind of on that point, we've had some coaching changes at the college football level. Obviously, the biggest one was James Franklin, but we've seen the UCLA coach get fired, whatever that was, week 2. Have you talked to any players and, had discussions on like how this affects players, during the recruiting process? Like, do they open it up? Obviously, we see those posts where it's like, hey, I'm now opening up my recruitment now that so-and-so got fired. But what's your perspective on that?
Yeah, so there's 2 that come to mind. One's an out-of-state kid. I saw him play 7-on-7, Cayman Spell from McCrevisport, Pennsylvania. He decommitted, I know. So he was a 2027 linebacker, and I'll tell you right now, this kid is definitely league-bound NFL. He's a Power 4 talent, no doubt. So he decommitted, I know, right away. Opened up his recruiting process, and the other one, Benny Izuka from Catholic Central. I'm sure you guys saw that tweet where he's like, I'm committed, but I'm reopening my recruiting process. So that's the burning question that I'll touch on. It's the kids do their best, I think, a lot of times to honor their commitment. They like what the school offers. He likes what Penn State has going, with everything the school offers, the campus, the whiteout game, the whole, Penn State Big Ten thing. So, kids want to do what they think is best. And, if a coach comes in, they hire, maybe that coach doesn't want to honor his commitment to Benny Izuka. Maybe he doesn't want to honor his commitment to whatever other kid who doesn't necessarily fit who this new coach is, what he's scheming wise, if the kid even fits what he wants, if he feels he can get a kid in his position in the portal, If it's a coach who coaches somewhere currently right now, he'll probably try to get a kid from the portal. So, that's why kids post on like reopening my recruitment, because, maybe Izuka likes a coach, an O-line coach somewhere else. If, the O-line coach at Penn State, whatever it is, goes away, gets a new job, the new head coach doesn't retain his O-line coach. So there's a lot of different variables that go into this whole thing. And everyone always says, like, or people were saying, like, why would you even post that type of thing? But, I don't blame him at all. He has to keep his options open, and maybe it was like Penn State and some other school, he was like 50-50 on when he made his decision to commit to Penn State. So, that's kind of my whole thought on it. And I hope that answered the question.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I mean, obviously, he committed with James Franklin as a coach there. It makes total sense. And I think it's difficult, especially if you're 2026 and, you're looking to leave, to start college in January of 26, because you're likely leaving early, and a coaching change happens, and that's difficult.
Yeah. And like I said, too, like, you really don't, no one knows who's going to come in as head coach. And if that head coach just like, screw it, I'm just doing a total dump of who we have here and who I want to bring in, so there's a lot of factors that go into this recruiting process for these kids.
Absolutely.
For sure.
And so I think we're being joined by our player of the week, Sam Stowe, as we speak. Sam, are you there?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yep.
We can. Yeah. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Nice to meet you, Sam.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So Sam is a 2026, is that right, from Notre Dame Prep?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay, and you were 27. You had 391 yards this last week, 6 touchdown passes, and you rushed for 1 TD in your win over Traverse City St. Francis. Is that right?
Yep.
I think that was a school record too. Was it the school record for touchdown passes?
It was school record for touchdown passes and passing yards in a game.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. So walk us through the game.
Well, going into the game, our game plan really was to take the top off the defense, and I think we started off strong doing that. First drive of the game, we had a 58-yard touchdown on a deep post to Brody Sink, and then we just kept going with that same mentality, just taking the top off the defense.
Those DBs had a bad day, Sam.
Yes, they did.
That's cool.
So you're a senior, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So going in when you were in summer workouts and, going into this season, did you have a feeling that you guys would be pretty good this year? Did you feel like you were clicking?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, we had like a lot of returning guys. We lost a lot from last year, but I knew our receiving core would be just fine. We got 2 guys who are like 6'4", just freak athletes. We returned a lot on the offensive line, and we got a transfer from Illinois, which was.
Sam, have you always been a quarterback, or did you transition into the quarterback position?
I was a quarterback since 6th grade. In 7th grade, I was a tight end, but.
Okay.
You're like, nope, don't want to do that anymore.
Yep. Yeah, that's not for me.
And the team is having a good year. It looks like you're ranked number 2 in Division 5.
Yep.
Okay, so what can we expect here in the next few weeks?
Well, we're expecting to make a deep run just like we did last year. Get back to the Dome.
Sure. Are there any other games this season that you're looking forward to in particular?
We play Hudsonville Union Christian next week, which last year they kind of gave us the business. They kind of crushed us, but so we're looking to try to get some get back.
It's a revenge game.
Yes.
Love it.
Awesome.
Well, number 2 in Division 5 by our ranked by our very own Jeff Corrion here on the call. I don't know if Jeff, if you have anything for Sam leading into this coming week.
Hey, Sam, how's it going? Jeff Corrion, the D-Zone.
Good. Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you as well. I wanted to kind of ask, I saw you guys play Carlson week 3. You guys fell to 1-2 on the year. You guys had a tough one versus Waterford Mott that next week. How'd you guys bounce back so good with that game?
Yeah, that Gibraltar game was kind of rough. They have a great running back, but in that second half, we had 2 decisions there to really just fold or keep on fighting, and our defense kept on fighting, and we kind of carried that forward to next week. Playing Waterford Mott, I know a bunch of guys over there. We knew we had to win, like basically to get into the playoffs. So we just really prepared hard that week. Played a great game.
Everyone you guys play, I mean, besides Lumen Christie's D7, St. Francis, I think is D6. But all these teams are great teams. I'm looking at your schedule.
Yeah.
There's no bad team really. I know Country Days struggled this year, but Marine City's another team who's always been in the playoffs this week. What's it like playing such a tough schedule for teams higher enrolled than you guys?
Yeah, it's fun, honestly. Like every week, there's really no breaks. You get to look forward to having a dogfight on Friday, which is more fun than blowing a team out by a bunch of touchdowns.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Sure. Sam,
how's the recruiting process going for you?
It's not been the best, to be honest. I have a Wayne State offer, Siena Heights, but they're closing, so that's about it.
Trying to get on campus anywhere these next coming weeks?
I haven't really been in contact with any schools, so
Okay.
are you
if any
always
schools are listening, I'm definitely open to.
Well, they're going to be listening.
They'll be listening. Yep.
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah,
reaching
absolutely.
out to schools yourself? Are you sending tape to recruiters or scouts at other
Well,
teams?
I have sent tape in the past to recruiters. I know Coach Fox has a bunch of contacts with schools, and he's been trying to work for me.
What's the feedback you've gotten about what they want to see more from you on?
Most of them haven't really responded, to be honest, but like more about like working on progression reads and getting the ball out faster, making my release a little quicker, showing off my legs a little bit.
What do you think's been the biggest improvement for you this year? Obviously, you're putting up big stats. Was there something that you really focused on going into this year?
I guess just being more like calm in the pocket. I've been working on like being more mobile, which I think has showed. So being more of a dual threat quarterback.
Sure.
And obviously, you threw for almost 400 yards and 6 touchdowns. So the connection with your receivers is obviously there. How has that relationship developed? Do you guys are you guys close outside of practice? Like, how did you get that going?
Yeah, we got Brody Sink, Drake Roa, and Lucas Catula as like sort of the main 3 receivers, and those are like my 3 best friends. So we definitely connect well off the field, and on the field it correlates too.
So they're giving you a hard time when you're throwing more to one than the other?
Yeah, for sure. They definitely do, but it's all love at the end of the day.
Yeah, those 8 incompletions that you had total during the game, I'm sure they were.
They definitely let me hear about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Sam, what about your off season prior to this season? Were you working with an athletic trainer to prepare for the season?
Oh yeah, I have a quarterback coach, Terry Capiscia. Not sure if you heard of him, but
Cool.
he's a great coach. He's taught me a lot. A lot of the Notre Dame quarterbacks have went to him in the past.
I think that's something that we've talked to some trainers, and it feels like something that people are now doing more often now. Like getting with someone in the off season. Has that been your experience too?
Yeah, and also just like getting to the field with your wide receivers, just building the connection. Just by throwing more and more, you'll get better, and that's what I've really been doing in the off season.
So Sam, if we have some coaches that are watching this, what do you want them to know about you?
Hard worker. I love the sport. I put in the hours throughout the week. I watch a lot of film. I meet with my coach many times a week. I'm actually in our offensive coordinator's office right now to do this interview. So I think it's important to build a good relationship with coaches.
And what's the easiest way to reach out to you? Don't put your number out there, but do you have social media and email?
I got Twitter.
Okay.
It's Sam_Stowe 5, I believe.
Well, great. Well, congratulations on the Player of the Week. We wish you well the rest of the way, and we'll be watching for sure.
Yep, we'll be rooting for you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries. Have a good one.
Thanks for having me.
That was nice having Sam join us. I think that worked
that was
out well.
cool.
Yeah. So I guess we probably don't have too much time left, but I guess I want your last thoughts on the Player of the Year. You've talked about it a little bit. It sounds like Dakota and CJ are your top 2. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, obviously it's those 2 right now are the 2 that the favorites through 7 weeks. I think there's a lot of players who can still kind of move up in the rankings. Dethrone those 2 for the top 2 spots. I think CC and King next week is going to be a good kind of baseline, I guess, to see where I think if Samson Gash can, kind of move up a tier. He's moved up a little, I know, but they, like I said, they haven't been in very many close games. They've blown out pretty much everyone they play. They were up by 29 at half, right before half on St. Mary's. So, one of these weeks, Samson Gash I'm not lying. He's going to go off for 10 plus catches, 200 yards, 2 or 3 touchdowns. He's been getting 2 touchdowns with like 5 or 6 touches a game. So, he's extremely dangerous. And I think he's got one of the highest upsides to move up. Jackson Dosh and Jake Morrow, 8 and 9. That's our, 6 versus 7. Let me just confirm that. 6 and 7, Davison and Graham Blank for, they're ranked teams. So those 2 quarterbacks went head to head on Friday night. Tomorrow, the winner's probably going to move up a little. The loser is not going to drop, especially if they have a hell of a game. So, I'm kind of expecting a little turnover right there with those 2 quarterbacks. The Flint area has tremendous quarterbacks this year. I know Joe Boyster's training them out that way. He's doing a great job with those 2 in particular. I've seen their workouts in the offseason. And those 2 quarterbacks, Dosh and Morrow, have been going at it since they were in middle school, at least that I know of. And I think even younger. I forgot what they told me, but that's going to be a crazy matchup tomorrow night. And then we got some other quarterbacks. That's obviously dependent on them winning and the stats they put up. So Tommy Carr, Donald Tabron, Brady Van Lake, Cade Kaufman, 4 quarterbacks who are coincidentally 4 through 7 on our rankings. Those 4 guys, they don't play each other the rest of the year. I don't think until playoffs. Possibly all of them are Division I quarterbacks. So, Tommy Carr could have another 8 touchdown performance, and there's nowhere else to go but up.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Is it a regular season award, or do you take it through the playoffs as well?
Well, we go week by week.
Okay.
So we're going to go week 10, 3 districts, week 11, districts, regionals, semifinal, and then after the final, we'll announce the winner.
Okay.
So that's kind of the only change between our player of the year rankings and our team rankings. Our team rankings, we're going to do a week 8 ranking on Sunday, and then a final regular season ranking on the following Sunday before the playoffs are announced. So that's kind of when I'll, blow this whole thing up and be like, okay, I got like King at 8 right now, but I think they're, honestly the 3rd best team. And like I said earlier, the predictions are kind of my ranking. So whoever I think is the best team in D2, that's going to be the highest one. I'm predicting that as kind of my baseline. And the one year I did, I had it like it's like the number 1 team in D8 versus the number 2 team in D8 for the state final. It was like 1 versus 2 pretty much whole across the whole board, besides when like a number 2 played number 3. It was like the number 3 team would win. So I got to bring that screenshot up and share it with you. But like our rankings are going to show like 1 versus 3, 1 versus 2, pretty much across the whole playoffs late in the year. So, that's the only change between player rankings and team rankings. The player rankings are going to go week to week. The team rankings stop after the week 9 season up until our final rankings after the state finals announced. But, and one last note on the player of the year rankings for who we have on it this week is Isaiah Wright. Sam Stowe mentioned him, when I asked him about the Carlson game. Very physical running back. He plays a little outside linebacker when they need him to, but he's a heck of a running back. He's committed to Purdue. Great vision, great speed, great, ability to bounce off of tacklers. He's a 5'11", 215 pound type of kid who's phenomenal running back. We have him at the number 1 running back on our rankings this week. So, he's a great player. Definitely deserves the credit that he's gotten, and look forward to his growth. And one of the players I left off this week, Marcello Vitti, I'm seeing play tonight on Divine Child. He's committed to Iowa. So, he got removed from them losing to St. John Jesuit, I think it is, from Ohio last week. So he's right there in the conversation as well. He'll probably go off tonight in the first half versus Renaissance before they, have too big of a lead and they sit some of their guys.
Real quick, Jeff, I just got to ask you, my hometown, Gaylord, Michigan, is 7-0. I want to know if you know anything about the Big North Conference up there. They just beat Escanaba last week, I believe, to win the Big North Conference. Yeah. I'm just wondering if you're
that's correct.
monitoring that area at all.
No, I definitely am. I know they got a couple of guys. I can't think of their names off the top of my head from Gaylord who are having great years. They had a new coach come in this year. They were really good 2 years ago. They had a little drop off last year, but they're back in it. Yeah. And we'll see what they do in the postseason now. But I definitely follow what they got going on out there. I know they're 7-0, won the conference. So excited to see what they got in store for us.
Yeah, seems like they like their coach up there. I don't know him, but
that's good. Yeah, I don't know who it is off the top of my head either, but I kind of regret not seeing them play. I think it was week 3. They had their military and service appreciation night. I was at it 2 years ago.
Okay.
They bring all the helicopters, the jets, flyovers.
The jerseys look great.
Yeah, the jerseys, of course, those are really good.
Yeah.
So
very cool.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what they do the rest of the year.
Well, Jeff, thanks for coming on and giving us an update. We look forward to the rest of the season, and hopefully when you announce your player of the year, we'd love to have that player come on, and maybe we'll get you actually in the studio at that time.
Yeah, we'll definitely do our best to make sure both of those happen.
Well, that sounds good. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.